Hey everyone, today we're going to be talking about links and everything you need to know about it. And before getting started, if you find the content useful, please subscribe to the channel and like this video. So before learning any kind of topic, you need to understand whether there is any prior knowledge to it. Because some topics are kind of easy to grasp and some topics require some prior knowledge. And LINQ is one of them. You should know some stuff before that. So first of all, let's understand what LINQ stands for. So LINQ stands for Language Integrated Query, and to put it simply, it's just to access data. It can do more, but if you're just on your, if you just begin learning LINQ, it will usually be a cool replacement for each or for loops, and it's way much powerful. So, but before understanding links and what you need to know prior to links is to what is a delegate, what is an extension method, and what is a Lambda expression. So now I'm just gonna scratch the surface of what it is. Maybe I'll show you some examples so you can understand this, and we'll go on to links. So imagine a situation that we have an element, just some element with some properties like name, category, and ID, just a simple element. And we have another class, for example, selection filter. And that selection filter has a method allow element. And as argument, we're going to pass an element there, right? So we will call a method from an instance of this class. And here we want to have different kind of checks. So sometimes I want to check whether the name is correct or whether the category matches the required category. For example, I want to check if the category equals to floors or walls or whatever. So let's go and implement quickly something like this and go back to this so we can understand this better. So to make it faster, I'm just going to be copying some code that I've already written so it would be faster. So let's create a new class. So just right click, go to add, go to new item, but I usually go Control-Shift-A because it's kind of a shortcut class. Usually you need to have, classes separately, store them separately, but to make it easier in terms of visualization, I'm going to keep them in a single class. So let's just name this master LINQ. Let's add, and I'm going to just delete that class, and I have a class on my second screen, and I'm going to paste it there. So just some simple class like this where we have a constructor where we need to pass a name, an ID, and a category, where a category is just a string. So just some simple types. And here I'm gonna also paste selection filter. For the time being, I'm gonna even delete this one. So what I've done here is that here I have this delegate, and that is the first topic that you need to understand. And a delegate is a reference to a method. What does it mean? That here we have some method and we pass an element here. And sometimes we want to check different things. So we want to allow our user to define what method will be used here. So let's go to the program and just create some of our own methods, right? Let's give me a minute because I have two screens that I've prepared something. So here in the main method, as you can see, the constructor of this requires a function. So here what I did is that I've created a delegate, and a delegate, it's like, think of this as the skeleton for your method. So here your return type will be Boolean, and the argument that you need to pass is the element. So actually this method looks exactly like this one. So here we define, so you go public delegate, here we define what is what is going to be a return type, and here as you can see return is a boolean, and here we just tell what the user should pass as arguments, and here as you can see it's kind of the same. And then we just create a field, private read-only field, and in the constructor we just gonna assign this field to the one that we're gonna pass here. So what is this function? So we understood that this delegate is just like a reference to a method. So we need to pass a method here. So let's go and try to do this. So first of all, what I think is that I'm gonna have just a static method here, like public, okay, public static, and let's name this category, and I'm gonna return boolean, and I want to go with the category check, some simple like this. So we're just following the pattern, right? Because I want to have here return boolean, an argument that I pass should be of an element type, and I'm just gonna go with the return whether my element category equals to walls, for example. So here what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna create this selection filter, and I'm gonna go new selection filter, and here I need to pass a method, and I can easily go with the category check. Oops. As you can see, we don't pass any arguments here. We just pass like the template for this, what our method should look like. And when we call right now from the selection filter, we have allow element, and we just need to pass any element. Let's create an element here, var element. And I'm going to go new element. Let's put a name like concrete. Let's have an ID of something like this, and let's say that the category should be floors, and I'm gonna pass this element here, and let's name this one check. As you can see, we just passed a method there. Let's gonna debug it so we can understand how that works. So I'm gonna click F9 here. That will create a breakpoint here, and I'm going to create a 5 for running this in the debug mode. Let's wait for a second. As you can see, build succeeded because we should have kind of compiled the code first of all. So here we're creating an element, and if I go inside of this, we just go inside of this constructor, and we just assign the values to the name, category, and ID, to these properties. Then we create a selection filter, and let's see what happens here. So here we just pass a method. We didn't pass any arguments with this. We just pass a method that should match this convention, that should be with a Boolean return type, and that should have as an argument one element. And we just assign this filter to this. And when I go with the check and I pass an element there, we pass an element, and here we're calling this method that we passed there. So if I go F11, it's gonna go to this method, right? It's gonna go inside and check if this element category equals to wall, right? So that's it actually. So this is the way how we can check it. So if I go there, it's going to be false. As you can see, it's really easy to do this part, but sometimes all of these small methods, all of this, they're not, maybe sometimes you don't want to create an actual method in terms of it's only going to be used once. For example, you use this method only here, only in this situation, and that's it. Maybe there is no point of doing something like this. So we should also get familiar with something like a Lambda expression. And the first thing that you do when you hear about this, you should go to documentation and just open this up, the the documentation, and here it will actually tell you what it is. So we use Lambda expression to create an anonymous function. So it's like the same that we did before, right? There is some function, some method, but here it's like anonymous. So what is anonymous? Let's just see one example here. As you can see, it goes like func, and now we don't know what func is because we created a delegate. But func is actually a delegate. So before even diving into lambdas, we need to change our existing code to func, because if I go there back to my class, almost if you want to have a reference to a method, I don't want to say that we never use like delegate, because the developers already prepared for us two elements, two objects like action and func. So if I were to go even like this, public, and I need to put a value type, and I go func, and as you can see here, if I go Control Shift and space, it will show me all of the overloads. So overloads is like different. If you have overloads for your methods, that means that you have different options to call this method. And here we can pass any type of the parameters, values, types, actually types. You need to pass types that you want to get. For example, I want to get element, right? I want to get element, and I want to return boolean. So that will be the same as this one. So here I'm just gonna name this, let's name this new filter, so like this. And I'm gonna, it's silly to do something like this, I just want to show you that they're totally the same. But of course right now it's not element filter. So maybe it would make sense just to comment this out and actually name this one as the filter. And here we're going to say that I'm going to pass also a function of element, and I will return a boolean. And now it's going to work the same way. So what we've learned so far, that there is a delegate, and delegate helps us create a reference to a method. But there is no point in this particular scenario to create something like this, because we use func. Or action it can be also. So if you go public action, that just means that you pass something, but it should always return void, so nothing. So get familiar with this. I'm not going to go through all of them. I'm just showing you what you need to know before links. So make sure that you know about func and action. Func is when you can pass parameter, like types of elements that you need to input. For example, here I need to input element, and then you type what you need to return, and you need to return boolean. But if you use action, you only say what you're gonna input here, because it will always return void. Void means nothing. So we can do something like this. And if I now go there and create a console write line, check. So now my console will show me that I have false. False. But with Lambda, so now if you go back, so now we know what this func is. So func is a delegate. So let's think of this as just a method that accepts integer and returns also an integer. Let's kind of copy this and paste it to our code. So I'm going to do this here so you can understand this better. And that part is totally equivalent to something like this. For example, get square, where I have like an integer value, and I'm going to return value multiplied by value. That part is totally the same. So now what I can use is say square. Because I already have something like this. I don't know, like just val1, for example. Doesn't matter. I just want to show you how that works. And we just go square and we put like 5. As you can see, we can use that here, square dot 5. That would be the same as to use get square dot 5. Not dot, but just put an argument here. So it's more of a concise way of doing this. But what is actually the power of this lambda expressions? That here, I want to even leave it here so you can understand how this works. So as you can see on the left side, we have like arguments that we need to pass, and on the right side we have the return type. So if you compare two of these let's say methods, here you have value of an integer type, and here on the left side you also have an integer. So on the left side you decide what is the type you want to input as an argument, and on the right side you just do what you will return, and we will return x multiplied by x, and eventually where we use this square, this will be our 5, and that will go there and multiply 5. So why that can be so helpful? Because here we can use not category check, but just input a lambda expression. So here we can say that the category should equal to walls, for example, and that will work, as you can see. So it's a very concise way of doing this, and with links you will almost always do like this. So as you can see, links are very powerful. Lambda expressions are very powerful. So you can just pass it like this, and if you just need to use this method here, there is no point in creating it here. So that is another part that I wanted you to understand. So if you go back to the presentations, here I kind of explained it a little bit in depth. You can stop the video and read up about this. But the main idea is that we have a delegate. We can have a reference to this. So it's like a reference to a method. And we can easily use func, right? Because func is actually a better version of this. People already predefined all of the scenarios that we needed, right? So here I also showed you it's about extensions, but here this is what we already talked about. So now we need to understand one more topic, is what is an extension method. So we know about what is a delegate, what is a lambda expression. Now we need to talk about what is an extension method. An extension method is when you cannot access the class itself. For example, imagine a string. So just like a text, let's say, right? This string class. We cannot access this. We cannot modify this. But sometimes we would want to have this ability, and we can actually do this. And that is the convention. What you need to do, you just create a class of a static, you just create a static class, and you create a static method where you put like this keyword before this. So what, as you can see here, let's even quickly do something like this. So here, I'm gonna go to this master link, and okay, let's create a new class for this, but just for, so new item, class, let's name this extension method, and the convention says that we should go public static, and here we should have a public, you go with the public static, you say what you want to return, for example, string, and you say do something, right? Do something. We can even pass it with that, whatever we want. So we just go like this, current string, and let's say another string, or it doesn't even matter, right? We can even do like this. I'm gonna show you. So let's say that we want to just put this into console, right? So I'm gonna go console, and I'm gonna go with the current string. But here, of course, I would need to say that that should return void, right? So there's no such method when we have strings as do something, right? So if you go to program, and I want to delete this. If I go and I have like name, like Bob, for example, I can check out the length, I can clone, I can get index of, normalize, a lot of things I can do with this, right? There's no such method as do something, but now we have it. So, but I cannot assign this to the name because it returns void. So I need to do something like this or just do without a name. So I go do something, and now that will print Bob. So to put it simply, extension methods are for adding functionality to the existing classes that you cannot access. So I can put here another string, right? Another string, doesn't even matter, and I cannot print it. I want to return string. So here I'm going to say that I'm going to return a string, and I'm going to go like this: current string plus another string. So like this. So now what I want to do, let's name this another name. I'm gonna do something, and now I need to pass only one string. So if you want to check what you need to pass there, you can click Control Shift and space, and that will show you. So as you can see, it shows you this. This means that you don't need to pass it. It's taking this element, this name, as the first argument, and you just pass here, for example, 17. And this do something, we can actually now pass it to the console and see what it's going to give us. Just added strings. So extension methods, they're kind of helping us add functionality.
So guys, we've covered the prior knowledge to links. It's time for you to practice. Just go to documentation, see more examples, try to create your own ones. Just make sure you at least understand the gist of delegates, lambda expressions, and extension methods. That's it for the first part. In the second part, we will go through the LINQ itself. If you find the content useful, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for watching and have a nice day.